Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, we featured a really interesting anti-meta team with sets like Thick Fat Snorlax, AV Thundurus, Black Sludge Recovered Eternatus, as well as Weakness Policy Solgaleo. So we'll be playing a couple more matches with the team today. Thanks again to Zordor for the team, details are in the description below, and thanks to you all as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like, I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to just skip to the battle at the thumbnail and the title we're referring to, that is the third game today, but as always, all the games are exciting, so I encourage you to check them out. And question of the day, I'm just curious what your general, vibe or feeling of the format is at the moment and what your rating of it is. For me, it's somewhere like a 6 or a 7. I feel like it's definitely not my favorite, but I actually think out of the restricted formats, this is definitely one of the most interesting ones, and I like it a lot more than 2016 and 2019, for example. And I think the meta is actually still developing a lot, especially with things like Calyrex, Ice Rider, plus Reshiram now coming into fruition, and, players are still being really innovative in their team building for even regionals, right? And so, come Worlds, it's definitely going to be very exciting. So, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, first game of the day, and we're actually up against Lunala, Groudon, Venusaur, Thundurus, Urshifu, Incin. This might just be the Lunala team that we featured on the channel recently. If so, then it is going to be Sash Urshifu, it's going to be Life Orb Thundurus, Koba Venusaur. So Snorlax is really interesting here because of Yawn. I do have to worry about the potential Venusaur just putting things to sleep. Solgaleo's like an interesting max option here because there's a decent chance they activate the policy. But I honestly am really worried about the Venusaur. So one thing I could do is lead with Grimmsnarl and go with Entei. Because Entei's damage output as a Dynamax option here is excellent in my opinion. And this way, let's say they lead Venusaur, I can actually just Thunder Wave Max Flare it immediately. I like Eternatus in the back. See, the thing is, Snorlax is interesting here, as is Thundurus. Ugh, both are actually really solid, honestly. So do I really want to take this approach with Thundurus? I could lead it, I could Dynamax it. I'd have to be worried about their Thundurus, though. And with Grimmsnarl, I can slow down something. I just don't know if I really want Solgaleo as my fourth here. I actually don't think it's very good. I think regular AV Thundurus here is solid because I can Grass Knot Groudon, I can Dark Pulse the Lunala, and with Snorlax, it's just too tanky, but too, it doesn't do enough damage, and if I get hit by a Sleep Powder by Venusaur in the early game, I think it's a disaster. So, a lot of interesting things here at play. Let's see. Okay, there's going to be Groudon and Lunala. So I can set up screens. I can just go for a Sacred Fire. They can angle to set up Trick Room. One interesting thing we can do, by the way, if they try to Trick Room, is to self Thunder Wave. Gotta be worried about Swords Dance here. Meteor Beam from Lunala as well. They could just Precipice Blades and Meteor Beam turn one. Groudon could Dynamax here. Trick Room is obviously a possibility for them right now. Honestly, something like maxing Groudon and just quaking Entei and then Trick Rooming seems like a decent option for them. Down to Spirit Break Lunala and just... actually, I think I should Light Screen here. Yeah, I'm gonna go Light Screen and Sacred Fire into the Groudon slot. Okay, no Dynamax, no switches, and no Protects. Sacred Fire Burn here would be huge, but either way, I'm happy. There's a lot of damage on a Groudon to start, and we do get the burn. Okay, cool. Very surprised to not see a Protect or a Switch there, but I'll take it. They might have just been going for, Trick Room and Swords Dance, which would make a lot of sense. But it's actually Meteor Beam, okay. So, no Trick Room. It could just be Meteor Beam Precipice Blaze, right? That's the other option. But now it's interesting because Dynamaxing Thundurus is actually a very powerful option. Because I can max Darkness with it. And I'm also curious what Groudon goes for here. Because if they try to Swords Dance, because we get the burn, it's going to be an awkward shape for them. But it is just Precipice Blades. Okay. Yeah, good play by them. Let's get the KO onto Entei. Which I was thinking about Dynamaxing, but against this lead, it's just way too oppressive that I can't really afford to, I think. Okay. Yeah, I want to bring out Thundurus here, I think. And with Thundurus, I think the play I want to make is to max Darkness, Lunala, and Spirit Break it right now. Because we were lucky enough to get that burn on the first turn in the game, I don't have to worry about Groudon's damage output nearly as much. Whoa, that was my headphones dropping. Yeah, I don't have to worry about Groudon's damage output nearly as much, right? And so, Max Darkness here is actually pretty annoying to deal with, and you've committed the Meteor Beam, so your only way of actually, like, dealing significant damage to Thundurus here would be Dynamaxing Lunala. But if you do that, you're also kind of in an awkward spot because I have the light screen up, so a Max Rockfall won't KO. You change the weather, and I'm not even sure a Max Rockfall plus Rock Slide KOs Thundurus because we're Assault Vested. So, they're going to stay in with both, okay? Eternatus will be nice for the end game. Let's think about what they have in the back. I think Urshifu would be one of the scarier options just because that's a good late game offense Pokemon. I don't think Thundurus really makes too much sense. Incine's always stable, and then Venusaur would make a lot of sense. Okay, they are going to Dynamax here, which I think is the correct decision. I think if you don't Dynamax here, you're in a lot of trouble. You kind of have to just because you need a response to Thundurus Dynamaxing. So it is going to be Lunala maxing, okay? So we'll get a 2-hit KO onto it for sure. My only fear is if they actually manage to like knock out Thundurus with a Max Rockfall Rock Slide combination. Okay. Yeah, you can see how tanky Lunala is. That's a 4-time super effective attack, but into a Shadow Shield and into a Dynamax only does around 30%. But the thing is, another one will KO, right? Oh, and they actually opt for Phantasm. Okay, cool. Yeah, so with the Assault Vest that we take that wonderfully. So this is how, like, Thundurus-T is a pretty interesting Pokemon in the format. Like, being able to outspeed base 100s and just having a pretty diverse move pool is valuable. So they're actually going to Swords Dance, and normally Swords Dance would be scary, but we have Max Overgrowth on Thundurus, so this next turn I can just Overgrowth safely with no problem. Now that we've broken Lunala's Shadow Shield, and they no longer have the, yeah, and they no longer have Power Up and Meteor Beam, and I have Light Screen up. Like, your damage output from that is just pretty underwhelming, right? So here, I am down to just Overgrowth into the Groudon slot. I guess my only fear is that does not knock out, but we'll see. And Spirit Break Groudon here just to try to guarantee the knockout onto it, because I don't really care about what Lunala has to go for right now, given the Light Screen and the attack earlier. I could also consider actually setting up another screens with Grimmsnarl, right? But okay, we do get the KO there. I wasn't 100% sure about the damage calc on Overgrowth. Like, I figured it would, but yeah. So it ends up kind of negating that Swords Dance, which is really good. Spirit Break just gets redirected into Lunala. I could have fished for a Thunder Wave instead, I guess. It's interesting they keep going for Phantasm rather than Rockfall. It does lower my defense, so, you know, if you've got Urshifu in the back, it does set up the Urshifu decently nicely. But it's nice to chip away at the Lunala with Spirit Break right now. Obviously, one thing to note is that I cannot go for Thunder Wave onto Dark Urshifu because it's dark, and they're immune to Prankster. So Spirit Break is going to be our best bet into it. I do have a bunch of defense drops on both, though, so, like, you know, if Urshifu comes out, my question is, does Sucker Punch KO us at -2 defense? Because I'm using AV Thundurus as well, I might actually be a little bit hesitant, but they're actually just going to switch in Incin. Okay, cool. You know, the thing with Incin here is because they've gone for Phantasm a bunch, a Flare Blitz is actually really going to hurt. So to cover for that, I'd actually rather switch the Thundurus out and click Reflect here. Well, actually, I suppose, because, like, you can only Fake Out or Flare Blitz here. If you Fake Out, it means I get Max Darkness off. If you Flare Blitz, it means I get Reflect up. But that might still KO me, honestly, so I'm down to make the switch into Eternatus. Because regular Thundurus is just really solid into Lunala, right, with one more Dark Pulse. And what are my other options there, right? Like, let's say Lunala could Max Guard. Even if it doesn't, the damage output from it is pretty underwhelming. And I think Eternatus is in a very nice spot late game right now. Okay, and there's the Max Guard. Yeah. So it's like, you know, if they Max Guard, what can I really do in that position, right? Like, Max Lightning Incin, Max Knuckle it. Neither are really that valuable there, and I don't want to lose Thundurus immediately. And Flare Blitz is just their best play by far. Yep, so it goes in Eternatus, but now we're at the point where it really walls. So I don't really have to worry about the damage output from it. Screens have been so valuable for us here as well. And with Grassy Terrain and Black Sludge, Eternatus is healing back a very significant amount each turn as well. So now what? If you're my opponent, you just tried to protect with Lunala. I still don't know what your fourth one is. Definitely could be the Urshifu. Eternatus is in kind of a nice spot right now, that's for sure. I've got Thundurus in the back. So, let's see. Last turn of Light Screen, couple turns of Reflect. Yeah, honestly, I'm down to just Spirit Break Incin here and Dynamax Cannon into Lunala this turn. I'm okay splitting my damage in case they like hard switch one into Urshifu, for example. The remaining Pokemon can either be Urshifu or Thundurus. Thundurus outside of Dynamax, very much not a threat. And Venusaur, right? Venusaur, like, I'd actually be okay with because I can just Thunder Wave Flamethrower it and eliminate it immediately. So Urshifu's the one I like with leak. Like, I really don't want to be the last one. But even if it is, like, we have the speed advantage with both Pokemon. Or I should say with the Eternatus and with Thundurus. And then, like, Urshifu can also just Spirit Break it, right? So, Dynamax Canning there with the special defense drop onto Lunala is a KO. Great. Bye-bye. And they're just going to Flare Blitz, meaning no parting shot pressure and no fake out pressure going into the next turn. Great. Wow, that actually KOs Grim. It's pretty impressive. Okay. Well, that getting the knockout's definitely a little bit scary, but it makes sense. Like, it's sun-boosted Flare Blitz, right? But the thing is, now I can bring out Thundurus, and regardless of who your last one is, like, if it's Urshifu, your best play would be probably to protect the Urshifu. Then it's mind games about, do I read into the protect? They also could just Sucker Punch the Thundurus, but I think one thing that gives us a big edge here is that the Eternatus does have Recover, right? And so I can just Recover pretty easily, whereas I don't have to worry that much about Incin. There's this interesting, though, because if you're my opponent, you could just protect Urshifu, right? Like, I almost want to just T-Bolt Incin and Dynamax Cannon it, because they could protect Urshifu, try to Flare Blitz Thundurus right now. I don't even know if that KOs, though, so the question is, do I want to think about going for Focus Blast onto Incin instead? The other, I mean, yeah, it's like, does Flare Blitz really KO through Reflect? I don't expect it to, honestly. I would protect Urshifu if I were them. Focus Blast isn't the most consistent, but I think it's decent to go for it here. We'll see if they try to Sucker Punch. Okay, they go for Punch. That's fine with Reflect up. Yep, we survive. So now if we hit Focus Blast, we win the game, but that's a big if. The other alternative was obviously doubling up onto Urshifu, but what Urshifu could have done there was protected. Yeah, if Incin has Berry here... Okay, it's probably the bulky Berry, or it could be a Shuka as well, but Focus Blast does connect. But I was like, if Dynamax Cannon activates a Berry there, then there's no way a T-Bolt KOs. And it's like, even though Focus Blast is inaccurate, 70% chance to just win the game, I'll take it, right? The only thing that I didn't cover for was Urshifu going for Wicked Blow, but then Eternatus should still win the 1v1 in that situation. So now we just T-Bolt and Dynamax Cannon. So this was a really close one, but yeah, I think we obviously had a lucky burn to start the game. They did bring the best 4 Pokemon, though, honestly, like, because I thought if they had Venusaur or... yeah, if they had Venusaur or Thundurus in the back, there's really not much you can do. And I actually thought, like, the Groudon Lunala lead was very smart to just, like, apply maximum offensive pressure immediately. But you can see how powerful Dynamax Cannon there is. And in general, like, I think Groudon was always going to be, like, the scariest Pokemon to deal with. So the fact that I got so much damage onto it on turn 1 and the burn made things even easier. If we didn't get the burn, I'd probably have to consider, like, going out into the Eternatus, pressuring it with Dynamax Cannon. But then Groudon could just protect, which is obviously scary, right? So, yeah. Like, I think one angle my opponent could have gone for was, you know, just set up Trick Room as well, and then just Dynamax Groudon and sweep under Trick Room, because I didn't really have great Groudon answers under Trick Room. So, Urshifu detects here, but it doesn't really matter. Crit Sucker Punch is never KOing Eternatus, and we're always faster. So, yeah, we're good here. Does make sense to stall out the Reflect, but like I said, even with the crit, you're not KOing here, because this Pokemon is quite bulky. So what about the Pokemon that I didn't bring into this matchup? I mean, Solgaleo into a matchup with Lunala, Groudon, and Urshifu is scary. But it's funny because it's like, even though they all have super effective attacks, it's actually pretty hard for them to KO the Solgaleo quickly, or at least in one turn. And so you actually still have the room to like bring Solgaleo and Dynamax it, but I didn't feel super comfortable with it here. Hence the reason why we dropped it, right? But yeah, the Lunala Groudon lead was very impressive. Because it's also like, you don't want to just ignore Groudon. Because let's say you like double up onto Lunala expecting to like Trick Room and then Groudon just like Swords Dances on you on turn 1. Like that can be a complete disaster. So yeah. Also, I just kind of wanted to see Focus Blast because I haven't used it in so long. It's obviously not a very consistent move in VGC. But yeah, ends up working out for us here. So let's look for another. Alright, next match here, and it is Palkia Zacian with Tornadus, Porygon, Incineroar, and Rillaboom. So, we got Trick Room and Tailwind, although Trick Room is kind of weird here because their team is actually not that slow. This is probably a decent Solgaleo match, but I'm worried about foul play mainly from Porygon. If anything, I'm actually just worried about my damage into Porygon to begin with. Honestly, Entei Solgaleo is also kind of interesting because I could maybe just Bulldoze here. Their way to stop this lead is Tornadus and then Palkia to Geyser into the Entei immediately. But if they lead Fake Out plus something, like this would actually be really punishing. I haven't really gone with this mode yet, so there is something that can stop this lead in Tornadus and Palkia, and if they lead it, kudos to them, but I'm down to try it out. Snorlax with Yawn is interesting just because like Porygon's a Pokemon that wants to stay on the field for a very long time typically. Yeah, I'm just worried about my damage output into Porygon here. It's like 2 max moves from Solgaleo is the best approach, but otherwise, I don't actually have very consistent damage into it, which is a little bit scary. And then for the last one, like, normally bringing Grim in the back can be awkward, but here could make some sense, especially if they lead Palkia and I can Thunder Wave. Yeah, I'll go with Thundurus, though. Yeah, Palkia Zacian here is definitely scary. I'm just curious about the lead, but like, yeah, one of the values of Entei and Solgaleo is that if your opponent like mistakenly leads Fake Out into it, you can just Bulldoze into max and like really sweep with Solgaleo. So, I'd like to get that off here, I just don't know if that's that easy. It's P2 Palkia, okay. I mean, this lead still is tricky because they can obviously just go for Trick Room. I don't know how fast either Pokemon are here. I think it's going to be Trace. Tracing Full Metal Bottle, it's funny. Man, because the other problem is I probably expect this to have foul play. Palkia's the clear Dynamax option here, right? Like, if I were them, I would Dynamax Palkia and just, like, max Quake or Geyser into Entei, Trick Room with Porygon. Okay. I'm honestly thinking about switching Entei out into Thundurus. I mean, this lead is just tough to break through. Porygon in itself is just tough to break through in this matchup, I think. This was too passive of a play, but I went for Protect and switched out. I don't like that too much. I just, like, what was my other option here? I could have just gone for Bulldoze and, like, max Quake immediately or Steel Spike. I do get the Palkia to Dynamax, which I'm happy about. The goal is to ideally stall out Palkia's Dynamax and go from there, but that's easier said than done. I think one other play I could have gone for was actually just switching Eternatus Sin and giving it a special defense boost via Max Quake. But Porygon is actually just so hard here because I don't have that good damage into it, and it also is probably Eerie Impulse and Foul Play, and that kind of crushes everything here. So like an adjustment against this lead would be to just bring Snorlax as a lead immediately. Yep, so there's Geyser. Just going to Solgaleo though, okay. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better about my Protect. Because, like, Geyser and then into Trick Room makes sense if you have Foul Play, because then if I activate Policy, you can just KO Solgaleo. Yeah, so that's what they're going for. That makes a lot of sense. Now you can just Geyser into Solgaleo and Foul Play it. I mean, Thundurus really contributes little here. Like, I will T-Bolt into Palkia, and I think I have to kind of switch Solgaleo out here, but into what, right? I guess Eternatus is the best bet. Thundurus could also just get hit by Geyser instead of Solgaleo, so it's like my offense is weaker than my opponent's offense, but my defense is also weaker, which feels kind of bad. And part of that is because I didn't bring Snorlax here, and applying Yawn pressure earlier would be better. Okay, bring out Eternatus. Yep, there's Foul Play. I wonder if they doubled up onto Thundurus. I feel like if you're making that play, it feels like it. Ooh, they actually Quake. Okay, I see. You can get away with that, yeah, because it's like, even if you activated... Ooh, Tornadus does survive, though. That's spicy. The reason why they're willing to activate my policy there is because the Porygon can just foul play to KO Solgaleo the subsequent turn anyway. It's just like, I'm stalling out their Dynamax, but what do I even do after the Dynamax, right? Another Quake onto Eternatus is really safe. I have basically no counterplay to that. Yeah, Snorlax needed to come out in this matchup, but this lead specifically is just incredibly powerful. I mean, I can protect Eternatus here. I'm gonna keep trying to chip away at Palkia, but the thing is, what makes my opponent's team so scary is that, like, they have this slow route, right, with Trick Room, but then they also have Tailwind with Tornadus, and so, like, I wanted to try to cover for both, but that's pretty difficult. Okay, it is just foul playing a Quake again, yep. So the upside is I've stalled out my opponent's Dynamax, but the downside is I'm not even in a position where I can deal that much damage, which is sad. Like, I ideally need to... I think we bring Solgaleo out here. Basically, in order to win this, I need to be in a position where, against Porygon, I only let it get one foul play off against me at most, right? The other tricky thing is if Palkia has Trick Room here, they could just go for a nasty Trick Room with both Pokemon at some point, even this turn, and I could just let them win the game. So I'm curious if Palkia does indeed have Trick Room. What's the board state? 2 turns of Trick Room left. Yeah, so I think my best bet really is to just, I'll Thunderbolt Palkia, and I'll just protect here. Then I'll bring out Entei, protect Entei, Dynamax Solgaleo, Steel Spike into Porygon, and then Bulldoze, like, Max Quake, maybe the next turn. The problem is that Palkia can just one-shot Entei, so I've, like, already lost too many resources to, like, feel comfortable winning this game. Okay, yeah, foul play into Thundy. They got a crit earlier, but honestly, like, I really don't think it matters here. This lead is just so tough to break through for me right now. Okay. So now I get Entei out. I almost wonder if I should just attack with it here. Like, both of the Pokemon on my opponent's team just apply so much pressure right now. Grimmsnarl could have helped for screens. Eternatus lead could have been valuable as well. Like, or Solgaleo, right? You know what's interesting? It's like the Protect here on Entei is so obvious. I almost want to just attack because I could see my opponent doubling up into Solgaleo, but I think I'll still play it safe. I'm going to Protect here. Dynamax. We're going to Quake this turn into Porygon, give a special defense boost onto Entei, and then see where we go from there. Yeah. It's still winnable, but it's obviously pretty hard from this angle. And once again, if Palkia has Trick Room here, you could just click Trick Room with both Pokemon. And that would actually just ensure them the win, I think. Let's see if they consider going for it. If there's any time for a double Trick Room play, it's right now, honestly. Okay, they foul play into the Protect, though. And Hydro into the Protect. Okay, I'll take it. So I'll get a Max Quake off, I'll get a special defense boost, and now I can Bulldoze this next turn. The problem is that I still have to deal with the Zacian in the back from my opponent's end as well, but Solgaleo actually matches up decently into Zacian. And Rain stops too. I guess the problem is that both of these Pokemon can currently click Trick Room, which is pretty scary, and Palkia's not that scary, and then if you Trick Room again, I actually have the advantage against Zacian, so yeah. I'm going to click Bulldoze here, and this time around I'm going to go for Steel Spike on a Porygon. The problem is that Porygon took that Quake pretty well. I'm not even sure if Bulldoze plus a Steel Spike KOs here. The idea is I've stalled out Rain, and I've given a special defense boost onto the Entei, so maybe I can take a Hydro Pump now. But if I don't get the KO here, I guess like they should just win, right? And I'm not sure we do, honestly. Porygon's so bulky. And that's the it's like if a +2 Steel Spike can't even KO from that range, like, dang. But it does get the knockout. Okay, good. Okay, so we're doing our best to mount a Solgaleo comeback right now. That would be pretty cool. Porygon faints. They are in a Trick Room, which is interesting. I don't mind that too much, honestly. Because Zacian for them right now is actually very... I won't say useless, but it's not the best option. So you think they'll go into whether their 4th Pokemon is, and it's Incin, which makes sense. Yep. with that, though, I think I can just protect the Incineroar and just Max Quake into... Sorry, protect into... With my Entei, Max Quake into Incin. Oh, I guess I could Rockfall as well. But Quake covers for a switch in into Zacian and gives me a special defense boost. So, I'd rather Quake. Because even if they have Shuka Berry here, it's going to do enough damage where I would think an Extreme Speed can KO the subsequent turn. Yep. They're probably doubling up on Solgaleo, but even if they do, like, I don't mind. Oh, but you have Will-O-Wisp. That's the one move that can save them here, and they have it. And it's Shuka. Nicely done. Okay, with that, then our odds of winning just dramatic. Like, it went from, hey, I actually feel very comfortable to, I think I just lose the game now. But it's still good damage onto Incineroar. That was a crit, too, yeah. Okay. Well, now you can just Hydro Pump, like, double up onto Entei, but I don't know if that KOs. I've got Rock Slide. Like, I could Extreme Speed Rock Slide here. 3 turns of Trick Room left. Will-O-Wisp Vincent's an awesome tech here. Like, I think that wins my opponent the game, honestly, and I'm totally okay with that. This is why it's, like, really cool how even if you use, like, the, you know, most standard Pokemon, you can run them in slightly unconventional ways to catch your opponent off guard, right? Okay, I'm down to E-Speed here, and go for Rock Slide. I am at +2 special defense, and Palkia's moves can miss here as well. It's not bad damage from Extreme Speed. They're actually just going to go for Earth Power to be more consistent, but I actually take that really well, so it's not the end of the world. And it's Flare Blitz. Okay, I do have a defense boost here, but this is still really going to hurt. Ooh, that almost KOs me. Okay. Well, didn't really have a way around that then, right? Even with the defense boost, Instant still really packs a punch. So now you bring out Zacian. Zacian should be able to win the game from that angle. It was a close one for sure. This was a nightmare matchup, though. I think, like, Porygon plus Palkia in itself was, like, a lead where even if I led my best option, which is Snorlax, I think, like, the right solution to this game, given the trouble that I had, is just cycling Yawn continuously, right? But I didn't do that. But like I said, I was a little bit nervous about leading the Snorlax because my opponent could just lead aggressively, right? And Snorlax can be very passive into something like a Zacian Palkia lead where you can just double up onto Lax immediately. And it's like, normally with that, the idea is to divert the attention away, but I don't really have anything else that's super strong immediately into Palkia either, right? The best bet would be like Dynamax Entei or Dynamax Solgaleo. 2 turns of Trick Room left here. Like, I could play towards, in this position, if you're my opponent, you could Earth Power Protect, but then I could go for E-Speed Crit and then Sacred Fire. I actually think I'm just going to Sacred Fire Zacian here, hope for a Hydro Pump miss. If they just protect Zacian Earth Power, though, they're good. Yeah, they're going to go for it. Okay. Yeah. And the reason why I think it's safe... Oh, is that a crit as well? Yeah. The reason why that play is safe, though, is because you saw how much Extreme Speed did previously, so my opponent probably, you know, was thinking, and I think they're right in thinking, hey, I can protect, or sorry, I can even take an E-Speed with Palkia, right? So even if you Extreme Speed me, your only way to win is a critical hit. So in that turn, I was like, well, I'm willing to just, like, make a little bet, you know, maybe they mess up a little bit. I guess I still need to, like, there's still one more turn to deal with Palkia, though. I guess I could protect, but then, like, I'm never KOing Palkia without a crit there anyway, so I guast I might as well just go for it, actually. But that was the other thing. I was like, maybe E-Speed can KO without the crit, but then if so, then I should just be targeting Palkia anyway, right? So, yeah, I guess E-Speed there is just more optimal. Because if we actually get the critical hit, we just win the game with the Sacred Fire Connect onto Zacian. We need to connect and avoid a double protect, but the odds aren't terrible there. But then the win condition's narrow. It's like either a high roll or just a straight up a crit. But yeah, I don't think Sacred Fire actually there makes much sense. Like, I felt the need to make a big play, but the play doesn't actually make sense because in the grand scheme of things, I'm going to need to target the Palkia anyway, and I'm going to need, like, an Extreme Speed onto it, right? Yeah, and it's like Sacred Fire and Boltos, but just do such little damage there. So, in retrospect, I actually think E-Speed is just the correct play there. Oh, actually, I guess one other thing, Could have been to hope for them to like protect Palkia for some reason. It's like attack with Zacian, but that doesn't make any sense, honestly. So yeah, in retrospect, I think E-Speed's always the correct play there, just because there's no other way I'm going to win the game without KOing Palkia anyway. And we have to do it at some point in the game, and it's not like stalling out Trick Room makes my other attacks any better. Yeah, so but the solution to that game, like I mentioned, against that lead is leading Snorlax, because Yawn at least applies some early pressure, means that they can't stay in with their Dynamax Pokemon like Palkia, and if we get a Yawn off into whatever's maxing, you know, that's really valuable. And even just making sure Porygon can't stay on the field is good, because Porygon was a huge problem for me in that one. So yeah, that's why this Pokemon's resurging in popularity though, and it's no surprise. So let's look for one last one. Third game here, and this is so cool. Solgaleo Zacian with Mantine, Seismitoad, Politoed, and Perrserker. Wow. Okay. How do I even deal with this? It's just all water and steel. So if I were them, like, what route would I take? The water route, maybe? To which, like, I could go Grim, Thundurus. I think this is a decent lead for either option, honestly. Tornadus in the back. Like, I almost want to bring Entei here. This seems not like the best idea. Solgaleo on the back. Okay. Well, this is a crazy team. I'm very excited to see what it has. It's funny because, you know, when I in the previous episode, I mentioned that this is kind of like an anti-meta team. So it's great when you're playing against meta teams, but then sometimes you run into teams like what we're going up against here, and it's like, okay, what do we have here? It is going to be Politoed and Solgaleo. Okay. Oh, what do I want to do against this? I could obviously set up a Reflect on turn 1, but Solgaleo could just Steel Spike into Grim. They could also Rockfall. Like, I'm actually not opposed to switching Grim out into Solgaleo here. Like, I want to just Thunderbolt Politoed, but Politoed could be Wakandberry. It could be, like, max Rockfall into Thundurus. So maybe I actually should just max Thundurus. I honestly, like, lean towards maxing Solgaleo right now, though, given this lead from my opponent. Okay, I'm gonna go for Reflect and Thunderbolt here. I don't think switching Grim actually accomplishes much, and I'd rather just get an early screens, and they're actually not gonna max either, okay. Could be a Trick Room from Solgaleo. Whoa. Choice Scarf Politoed with Bulldoze Solgaleo. First time seeing that. It really is a first time for everything. Wow. Okay. Well, that was, out of all the strategies I'd expected, that was the last on the list. So, very cool. Ha! And they'll be able to break through my screens with Psychic Fangs. Wow. Oh, that is so nasty. Okay. The adjustment, by the way, if I were to play this in a best of 3, is just to T-Wave T-Bolt turn 1, but, you know, how do you ever feel confident T-Waving a Politoed in the beginning of the game? Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Okay. There's Seismitoad. Oh, wow. I honestly don't think I can do much from this angle. Because, like, you can just keep breaking screens with Solgaleo. I guess I could activate my policy on my Solgaleo and I can retaliate back. But, like, I can't even Thunder Wave here. I mean, my best bet really is Reflect, hope you activate policy on Solgaleo, I Quake to one-shot your Solgaleo, and then we go from there. But, yeah, like, this is a game where, you know, Scarf Politoed with Bulldoze into policy Solgaleo is, like, an incredibly powerful best of 1 strategy. And it definitely falls off, like, a little bit in best of 3, but it's one in which, like, one turn basically won my opponent the game, right? Because I'm never really going to expect Scarf Politoed with Bulldoze there, so that's really cool. The Psychic Fangs is also what makes this even worse, right? Because it's like, maybe turn 1's not terrible if I at least get one of the screens up, but now it's like I don't even get it up. They actually also max Solgaleo rather than Seismitoad, which is interesting, but now I'm like, ugh, I could have Thunder Waved them instead. So that's frustrating. But I can still T-Wave them next turn, obviously. So Grim will get a Reflect up here. Yep, Liquidation. That really doesn't do too much. Steel Spike into Babiri. We've got Reflect up, but I think it still KOs. We'll see. Oh, we do survive with 11. Okay. But the thing is, like, does it really matter? The problem here is that my opponent's just outpacing me consistently. Their damage output is also way higher right now. Especially because they're doing a good job of playing around my weakness policy. The one interesting thing here is now I actually can slow things down a little bit with Thunder Wave, and if my opponent gets paired with Solgaleo, things can get tougher for them, but the damage output is just kind of lacking right now. And I mean, I don't think Entei would have contributed much as a lead. Snorlax with Yawn maybe can work, but then they could just Bulldoze Steel Spike into the Snorlax slot. It's just one of those, like, I ran into Scarf Politoed, right? And it'd be that way sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to Thunder Wave into Sogi for sure here. Like, I don't even know how I can KO. Okay, you know, if I Thunder Wave and then Rockfall here, I at least change the weather. And then Eternatus can be faster than Seismitoad, which I like. So even though, like, Rockfall itself doesn't do much damage, I'm trying to think one turn further, right? And, like, there's a chance in which we win this because now, like, Solgaleo has to attack through each turn. Yep, they just go for Liquidation. Now I change the weather, so I'll pace you, and... You know, if you get full paired here, you didn't go for a Max Quake, I can Dynamax Cannon your Seismitoad slot. I could go for a Quake there, but it's not going to KO, right? So, like, what's the point? I'd rather change the weather here to at least, now it's speed Seismitoad with the Tornadus. Okay, and they get paired. Cool. That's what we're looking for as a way to come back into this. Okay, now I bring out my Eternatus. Suddenly, like, things became from, I feel like I've lost this, to, hey, maybe it's still doable. And that's always exciting. Still got Reflect up. I think here I'd rather Protect. And... I think I want to just Protect and Quake into Solgaleo right now. Oh, you know what I could have done? I could have actually gone for Self-Flamethrower. But I don't think it KOs, like, it's not going to KO Solgaleo anyway, so, like, what's the point, right? And I'm faster than the, Seismitoad. Okay, that's actually really important information. The idea here is, like, I need to beat the, Solgaleo on the opposing end in the long run, right? And so, I need to keep chipping away at it. Okay, they just Liquidation me for very little, that's fine. And they get paired again, okay. That pair could matter if they went for Quake to give them a special defense boost, because now you don't have that special defense boost potential. Man, is it ever just Flamethrower myself an Earthquake here? Like, I don't think so, because I just do too much damage to myself, and I also KO my own Eternatus. I'm just curious if their Solgaleo was ever fishing for an attack onto me, but, like... I've also got Dynamax Cannon here. Should I really ignore them, though? No, I feel like I should just Flamethrower Solgaleo here. And Sunsteel Strike. Okay, they don't Protect, so that's good. We do get the knockout. Okay. I mean, with Thunder Wave, there's always a way, right? I am very curious for what they were going for those turns. I also could have gone for Rock Slide and just fished for a flinch here instead. That may have been the better play, to be honest. My question here is, do you just launch Liquidation again into Solgaleo? Yeah. Oh, okay, they're actually going for Eternatus. That makes sense. But that does no damage. Okay. Okay. Like, now your last one's Zacian, right? So I'm actually interested in Self-Flamethrower into Earthquake, but that's like a, hey, I'm going all in this turn kind of play. Because the thing is, I could take an attack from Zacian right now, right? From either end. Especially with Reflect up. But, like, they're probably just going to try to stall out my Reflect, right? Okay, I'm actually willing to just Dynamax Cannon and Sunsteel Strike here into Seismitoad, because I don't think Seismitoad's going to carry Protect here. Yeah, and Zacian protects. Beautiful. And, like, you know, I feel like they feel obligated to protect here since it's the last turn of last turn of Reflect. So it's, like, it's just your best option. I guess my question is, do I actually KO the Seismitoad here? But I think it should, unless you have a Berry. Cool. Well, this is why you don't give up, right? Like, the early game felt awful, and, like, we did get pretty lucky with 2 Paras in a row. But to be honest, like, you know, the Paras were on turns where, like, if you were targeting my Solgaleo, you'd only activate my Policy. That would actually help me. And I protected on the Eternatus slot the turn that they could have maybe gone for a Quake onto it. But Quake would have been meaningful damage through Protect, right? And so, like, I can't ignore that. But now Reflect wears off, and it's like, I think I can really just Flamethrower. I mean, so the question here is, like, I don't think Zacian ever one-shot Solgaleo. So even if you one-shot Eternatus, I think Sunsteel Strike into EQ should be a KO. And they actually just forfeit. So, yeah. I mean, this is why you don't give up. But that was definitely a really scary game because I felt like my opponent had, you know, the full early advantage. But changing the weather with Rockfall was actually really critical there. And the fact that we were just faster than the Seismitoad was also really important. So, yeah. Really, really interesting set of games. I mean, Scarf Politoed, like, I wish I could have seen Perrserker come out there, but Scarf Politoed into Policy Solgaleo is not something I would have expected in Team Preview. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So, thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.